Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to react to the 10 worst quarterbacks in NFL history. There have been, if I had to guess, thousands of quarterbacks that have at least played one game in the NFL. You know, I think the NFL has been going on since the 50s, something like that, the 40s maybe. So we're talking at least 70 years minimum, you know, and each team probably has at least 2-3 quarterbacks on their roster. Yeah, we're talking at least 1,000 quarterbacks. So to be in this list, you have got to have just stunk the place out. Maybe you were drafted super high, failed to deliver. Maybe you were a great prospect, but you got injured perhaps, never played a game in the league. There's various reasons why you might be included on this list. Maybe you had a ton of hype. I remember a few years ago, I used to watch clips of First Take, and I remember Skip Bayless always used to talk about Johnny Manziel. They used to call him Johnny Football. Like, I think he played for Texas A&M. Like, Skip was convinced this kid was the next Tom Brady. He was convinced. He was like, everyone I speak to says he's got an absolute cannon for an arm, blah, blah, blah. And I think, you know, it clearly did not work. And I think, is he in the league still? I don't know. But yeah, this should be a really interesting video.
They couldn't complete passes if their lives depended on it, and turn the ball over like they were being paid to suck.
Man.
Here are the 10 worst quarterbacks in NFL history. What better place to start than Johnny Football, as perhaps the most electrifying player in the history of college football. Johnny Manziel's pro career was over before it even started, as the first freshman and 5th player in NCAA history to pass for 3,000 yards and rush for 1,000 in a single season. He became the first freshman ever to win college football's most prestigious award, the Heisman Trophy.
The 2012 winner of the Heisman Memorial Trophy is Johnny Manziel.
This incredible success led to Manziel becoming an instant celebrity.
So he was actually a really good college player then. It wasn't pure hype.
From hanging out with LeBron James to partying with Drake, Johnny Manziel was everywhere. The issue was, NFL teams were worried that Manziel enjoyed being a celebrity more than being a football player. Despite that, his play in college was so special that in 2014, him being drafted by the Browns
with the 22nd pick to the Cleveland Browns select Johnny Manziel
inspired hope in Cleveland sports for the first time since LeBron had left for Miami. But this feeling quickly vanished when the Browns' biggest fear came true. Manziel finished his rookie season 0-2 as a starter with 175 passing yards, 2 interceptions, 0 touchdowns, and a 54.1 completion percentage in 5 games played. But that wasn't the worst part. The reports of Manziel being seen at clubs, drinking, and partying came out all throughout his rookie year, and it showed on the field. Then those reports were confirmed when he was checked into a rehab facility following the season. After year 2 went just as poorly on the field, it got even worse off it, with scandals like gambling in Vegas the night before a game. The Browns decided they had already seen enough, as Cleveland did the once unthinkable by releasing Manziel. In 14 total games, he threw 7 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, while completing just 57% of his passes. The Browns won just 2 of the 8 games Manziel started. In a league that gives out second and third chances like clockwork, it speaks volumes that Manziel never signed another NFL contract. And while Manziel never got another opportunity,
I mean, to me, this is just so dumb. Like, you had all of this hype behind you. You're actually a really good player. You're in the league. Just do your job. Like, do your job. Like, the partying and stuff like that, you know, maybe do it in moderation, but focus on, like, being the best player you can be. But then again, I guess with all that temptation around you, maybe it's hard to stay focused. But to me, this guy, he fumbled it big time. Big time.
Joey Harrington may have had too many. Going from collegiate All-American and cover boy for EA Sports college football video game to unwanted NFL backup, Harrington became nothing more than a what-if story. After he tore it up at Oregon, the Lions were thrilled to take him in the 2002 draft.
3rd choice in the 2002 draft, Joey Harrington, quarterback from Oregon.
Harrington was billed as the perfect guy to turn things around in Detroit after winning just 5 times in 2 seasons. But as a rookie, he went 3-9. And completed just half of his passes, while throwing 4 more interceptions than touchdowns.
What's a good completion rate for an NFL quarterback? We're talking at least 75%? What kind of rate? Like, what's a elite, very good, acceptable?
Harrington followed up this slow start the next year by leading the league in interceptions with 22. After 2 more losing seasons in Detroit, the Lions shipped him off to Miami for only a 5th-round pick. Despite the consistent change of scenery, one thing remained constant: his turnover problem. After an injury to the Dolphins starter, Harrington came in and threw 15 interceptions in 11 games. It was an issue that followed him to Atlanta the next year, where after being called into action due to Michael Vick's suspension, he threw 8 interceptions to only 7 touchdowns. Harrington never played another snap and finished his career with just 1 season where he threw more touchdowns than interceptions. That would explain his 26-50 record as a starter and never finishing a season with a winning record. As the
26-50, so he lost, for every game he won, he lost 2. Ouch.
Polar opposite of Harrington's pro career, Matt Leinart coming out of college was viewed as a natural-born leader and winner.
MVP of the 71st FedEx Orange Bowl, Matt Leinart.
Until the world realized he was not him. At USC, Leinart was as reliable as they come.
I just gotta focus in on what my job is and leading my team, and that's what I plan on doing.
Going 37-2 as a starter and as a sophomore winning the Heisman Trophy.
The winner is Matt Leinart from the University of Southern California.
So when the Cardinals took him in the 2006 draft with the 10th overall pick,
the Arizona Cardinals select Matt Leinart.
There was little to no doubt that he'd be able to make the jump to the next level. Except that's not how it went at all for college football's golden boy. As a rookie, Leinart started 11 games and threw more interceptions than touchdowns, while only completing 56.8% of his passes. Over the next 3 years, Leinart only started 6 games for Arizona, and in none of those seasons threw for more touchdowns than picks. Before the final preseason game ahead of his 5th year with the Cardinals, the team was so frustrated with his play that they straight up released him. He was so bad that Arizona realized they couldn't even get anything in return for him.
In American football, to release somebody, is it you basically pay them the remaining fee of their contract just to get rid of them? Because you can't just cut them without paying them, can you? You have to pay them off to basically get them out the door. That's got to be the worst feeling.
Leinart's NFL career never had a second act, as he spent the next 2 seasons with 2 different teams and only started 1 game. He finished his career having only played 33 games and starting just 18 of them. With an 8-10 record, Leinart threw 21 interceptions and 15 touchdowns with a completion percentage of 57.1. Unlike Leinart, DeShone Kizer didn't come into the league with high expectations as a late 2nd-round pick by the Browns in 2017.
The Cleveland Browns select DeShone Kizer.
But Kizer did leave the league having made history, just not for the right reason. Despite not being a top draft choice, Cleveland still named Kizer the starter going into the season. It was a tremendous amount of faith to place in the unproven rookie. In 15 games started that year, he threw 22 interceptions and only 11 touchdowns while completing just 53.6% of his passes. And as if Kizer leading the league in interceptions wasn't bad enough, the Browns didn't win a single game.
I mean, that was one of my worst performances ever in any sport I've ever played. This league is one where you can't deal with turnovers.
Cleveland went 0-16 and became just the 3rd team in NFL history to go winless in a season after suffering such a historically...
Those poor fans. Oh man, imagine not having 1 win for the whole season. Devastating. Devastated.
The awful year led by Kizer, the Browns couldn't wait to trade him away to the Packers. In Green Bay, he appeared in only 3 games and threw 2 interceptions without a touchdown. Ahead of the following season, the Packers released Kizer, and his NFL career mercifully ended. It was extremely brief, but one that will forever live in infamy, as Kizer never won an NFL game that he started. And while Kizer's career was over before it began, Chris Winky's long journey to finding his name on this list is by far the most unique and unconventional. At Florida State, Winky won a national title and the Heisman Trophy while leading the nation in passing yards. With a background like that, it may come as a shock to find out he was a 4th-round pick. The thing is, at the time of the 2001 draft, Winky was already 28 years old. Stetson Bennett don't have nothing on it. Prior to Winky going...
Yeah, 28. That seems quite, for a quarterback to start their career at 28, it's quite late, isn't it? Like, I think the average age is probably, what, 22, 23? like just after a normal college degree, right?
To FSU, he was a minor league baseball player for 6 years. So, his unusual old age scared away every team except for the Panthers. As a rookie, Winky led the Panthers to a Week 1 victory, and all of a sudden the rest of the league looked stupid. But then, he went on to lose his next 14 starts, throwing 19 interceptions and 11 touchdowns, with just a 54.3 completion percentage. After such a disappointing year, Carolina lost all confidence in Winky, and over the next 3 seasons only let him start 4 games. The Panthers then released Winky, who went unsigned that offseason and deep into the following year. He didn't get another shot until the 49ers were desperate from having lost all 3 of their quarterbacks to injuries. I guess some things never change. In San Fran, Winky started just 1 game before his career was officially over. He finished with a 2-18 record as a starter, with 15 touchdowns, 26 interceptions, and a 54.4 completion percentage. While a 4th-round pick like Winky not panning out doesn't...
It started so well for him. First start, first win, everything's going great. You know, probably get some good media attention, everybody's looking at him, and then collapse.
Come as a shock. Heath Schuler was supposed to be such a can't-miss prospect that he got an insane rookie contract. He just never lived up to it. As SEC Player of the Year at Tennessee, Schuler was taken in the 1994 draft by the Redskins with the 3rd overall pick.
The Washington Redskins select Heath Schuler, quarterback, Tennessee.
Washington was so confident that he was going to be the face of their franchise for the foreseeable future that they signed him to a 7-year deal, which is now unheard of for a first contract. After giving him such a wild deal, of course, they had to immediately name him the starter, but Schuler didn't reward the team for their belief in him. As a rookie, he went 1-7 with 10 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and a 45.3 completion percentage. Year 2 wasn't much better, as Schuler in 5 starts threw 7 interceptions and just 3 touchdowns. His play was so miserable that the following season, Washington didn't let him throw a single pass before trading him to New Orleans. With the Saints,
wow, so they signed him to a 7-year deal, and only after 1 season basically said, you're not starting, you're riding the bench now. Is that a wise decision? Maybe it's best to like try and develop him, give him more play time, because they probably lost a ton of money on him.
Schuler threw for an eye-opening 14 interceptions with just 2 touchdowns. After such an impressively bad campaign, teams avoided Schuler like the plague, and his career was over. Having gone 8-14 as a career starter, he threw twice as many interceptions as he did touchdowns, and completed less than half of his passes. Sticking with the theme of putting together almost unbelievable stat lines, Kim McQuilkin over the course of his career did just that. And to say things got off to a slow start for McQuilkin wouldn't do it justice. The Falcons' 3rd-round pick in 1974, McQuilkin as a rookie appeared in 5 games and started 2 of them, throwing 9 interceptions without a single touchdown. While you'd think his play could only go up from rock bottom, it really didn't. In year 2, he played in 3 games and again started 2, this time throwing 9 interceptions with only 1 touchdown. McQuilkin never turned it around in his following 2 seasons with Atlanta, before serving as a backup in Washington for 1 more. Having played 26 games and gone 2-5 as a starter, McQuilkin finished with 4 touchdowns, 29 interceptions, and a completion percentage below 40. His career numbers were so bad, it's not too insane to think he could have been intentionally throwing games. His interception prop was definitely a lock every week though. But no one found a...
I bet people made a lot of money on him, just betting on him to like, you know, get intercepted passes. Can you bet on that kind of thing in America? Surely you can, because here you can bet on corners, yellow cards, red cards. In British football.
Way to rack up turnovers quite like Achilles Smith. Coming out of Oregon, he was billed as a franchise changer with his dual threat ability, except it wound up only leading him to making this list. In the 1999 draft, the Bengals took Smith with the 3rd overall pick.
The Cincinnati Bengals select Achilles Smith, quarterback, University of Oregon.
And they wanted him so badly that they turned down an offer of 9 draft picks to take him. As a rookie, Smith played in 7 games and started 4 of them. His play didn't warrant any more than that, as he threw 6 interceptions and 2 touchdowns to go with his 52.3 completion percentage. The following year, while looking to make a leap and prove his worth, Smith did the exact opposite. Instead, he gave dual threat a whole new meaning, having the ability to turn the ball over both through the air and on the ground.
Smith steps up.
That season, Smith went 2-9 as a starter while throwing 3 touchdowns to go with 6 interceptions and 14 fumbles. With one of the
So he's basically a really, really bad version of Lamar Jackson, basically.
worst turnover problems ever seen. The Bengals over the next 2 years only trusted him to start 2 more games. He completed 17 of his 41 passes for 154 yards and 0 touchdowns, while adding in a fumble and interception for good measure. He never played another snap in the NFL, finishing with 5 touchdowns, a 46.6 completion percentage, 13 interceptions, and 19 fumbles. Although Smith was absolutely brutal for the Bengals, at least since he didn't give him a disastrous first contract, like the Raiders did with JaMarcus Russell. Not only is Russell one of the worst quarterbacks in NFL history, but he's also one of the most overpaid. After Oakland took him in the 2007 draft with the first overall pick, they signed him to a 6-year, $61 million contract.
Woo! But how much of that was guaranteed? How much was guaranteed, though?
With $32 million guaranteed, despite being the #1 pick and commanding an absurd rookie contract. Russell as a rookie was so unprepared that he only started 1 game, and the 4 games he played in were underwhelming to say the least. Russell threw 2 touchdowns and 4 interceptions to go with a completion percentage just over 50. In year 2, because the Raiders had invested so much in him already, they needed to know for certain what they had. So they gave him more chances, and he started 15 games, leading them to a 5-10 record and completing only 53.8% of his passes. In addition to not winning games or completing his throws, Russell added insult to injury. There were reports that he had shown up to training camp weighing more than 300 pounds.
Oh, mate, he took the piss. You're taking the mick. Dude, they're paying you all this money. Just be a professional, man. Like, be a professional. Oh.
And wasn't studying the playbook or watching film. In fact, the Raiders coaches were so convinced that JaMarcus wasn't watching film that they would send him home with blank tapes to see if he was really studying. The next day, Russell would come into the facilities saying he watched the blitz packages. That's why after another terrible season the following year, the Raiders said enough was enough and released Russell. Reports coming out of Oakland about him were such a nightmare that his career was officially over.
It was terrible. Then you started thinking like, damn, am I really that bad that they born?
Russell finished with a 7-18 record, 18 touchdowns, 23 interceptions, 25 fumbles, and a 52.1 completion percentage. But
at least the $32 million guaranteed, he got that, right? Like, he got that money. Easily retire on that, easily.
Even with Russell's dumpster fire of a career, one player still managed to top him for all the wrong reasons.
So I just feel like I'm the luckiest guy in the world to be able to play the game I love and get paid for it.
His name is Ryan Leaf, and to understand how high people were on Leaf as an NFL prospect, it was essentially a coin toss between him and Peyton Manning as to who deserved to be the top pick in the 1998 draft. The Colts wound up taking Manning at #1, while the Chargers took Leaf at 2, and the rest is history.
The San Diego Chargers select quarterback, Washington State University, Ryan Leaf.
His rookie season couldn't have gone any worse, as in the 9 games he started, he threw 2 touchdowns and...
Why do they do paint underneath their eyelids? Like, what's the reason for that? Like, is it just to make them look menacing, or is it, like, is there a specific reason?
15 interceptions to go with his 45.3 completion percentage. Leaf followed it up by again starting 9 games and throwing 11 touchdowns and 18 interceptions. Not only was his on-field play a disaster, but Leaf also routinely got into fights with members of the media and his coaching staff.
Don't talk to me, all right? Knock it off!
He earned such an awful reputation that the Chargers had to cut him instead of trading him. That offseason, the Buccaneers signed him, but had such an issue with Leaf's play and attitude that before the season even started, they cut him. Later that season,
what is his problem?
The Cowboys signed him after losing their starter to an injury. But even with Dallas, Leaf went 0-3 while throwing just 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions. The following year, the Seahawks took a chance on him and signed him to a 1-year deal. But before the season started, Leaf at the age of 26 abruptly retired. Despite calling it...
That guy needed to see a psychiatrist. He's got problems up there. Like, so many teams signing you and not even playing you and cutting you before the season starts.
Quit so early. He had already done enough to cement his legacy as the worst quarterback in NFL history, with a 4-17 record, 14-36 touchdown to interception ratio, and a completion percentage below 50.
Yikes. Man, I wonder if you could calculate exactly how much money was wasted on these players. Are we talking... We're talking at least $500 million, right? Surely. Like, JaMarcus got $32 million, that was guaranteed. So, was he the highest? it's got to be at least like $300 million at the very least. A huge sum of money. It's just, it's for me, like the unprofessionalism is got to be what the worst thing. You're paid huge sums of money. Just do your job. Do what you're paid to do. Don't turn up £300. Read the playbook. Watch the film. Don't party until like 6 a.m. every night. You know, it's just like, how hard is it to just, because you've spent all of your life trying to get to the league. So much sacrifice. You finally get to the league and you lose your head like immediately, like Johnny Manziel. Like, it's just a tragedy almost. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.